What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC 306. We have Sean O'Malley going against Merab Dvalishvili. UFC Noche here, a very special 10-fight card. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing everything Dana White and them has planned for the card. Apparently, there's going to be a lot of special things during this card that we've never seen before. And on top of that, just great fights. Great fights from top to bottom. Really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to breaking it down. Before we get into it, if you guys could do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, and we're going to be bringing back the Significant Strike contest. To enter the contest, like the video, subscribe, and comment down how many significant strikes you think that Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili are going to combine for in the main event. $25 to first, and if there is a tie, the tiebreaker does go to the person that commented first. And as always, I'm going to be doubling the pot if you get it on the dot. I don't think we have got it on the dot since like UFC 303. So comment down those significant strikes. We'll see if anybody can get it this time around. Other than that, this video is brought to you by Prize Picks. Now's a great time to check in at Prize Picks here. If you use promo code DFSBTN, you'll get $50 instantly when you place your first $5 lineup. It's a free $50. It helps me. It helps you. Check out Prize Picks. Use that code DFSBTN. And also check out dfsbythenumbers.com. That's where you'll find all my other content, DFS content, betting content, just a ton of going on the website there. All right, with all that out of the way, I say we get into it, and I say I put myself back to where I belong, which is right there in the middle. And we're going to start with the first fight on the card, and we're going to start with Raul Rosas Jr. going against Richie Long. We got Raul Rosas Jr., 19 years old, 5'9", with a 67-inch reach, 9-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Richie Long, 31 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach, 25-11 and 3-1 and no contest in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. They're not on the screen because I'm an idiot and I forgot to put them there. But Raul Rosas Jr. is a massive favorite. I think he's around like minus 900. Richie Long is plus 600 there. And yeah, not much to say here. I think it's a really bad matchup for Richie Long. I mean, we see what they're doing. This is UFC Noche. They're going to have a bunch of Mexican fighters on this card, and Raul Rosas Jr. is the first of many. And yeah, I mean, they're trying to, clearly build up the 19-year-old, get him a win here, get him probably a first-round submission win. And Richie Long, his takedown defense is not great at all. We've seen him taken down by much lesser wrestlers. He's been submitted multiple times throughout his career. So it's just a pretty straightforward. Raul Rosas Jr. gets a takedown and probably finishes it shortly after. So I'm going Raul Rosas Jr. by first-round submission. Next, we have Joshua Van going against Edgar Charz. Joshua Van, 22 years old, 5'5", with a 65-inch reach, 10-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Edgar Charz, 28 years old, 5'7", with a 72-inch reach, 11-5 and 3-1 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Joshua Van, minus 230. Edgar Charz is plus 195. So I think this fight is a lot closer than this line does indicate for a couple reasons. Joshua Van is coming back after a knockout loss to Charles Johnson not too long ago. I think it was like maybe 2 months ago, maybe like 2.5. It wasn't that long ago, getting knocked out by Charles Johnson. He's coming in here on short notice, and Joshua Van has been submitted before, and that's kind of Edgar Charz's thing. So I was like, I think we might have a really live dog here in Edgar Charz. And then I go and watch a bunch of Charz fights. I think I watched like 7 or 8 of this dude's fights, and I'm like, looking for like some wrestling maybe. I mean, this guy is such a good grappler. He has all these subs. I want to see him get the fight down to the mat, but he really doesn't wrestle at all. I literally watched 8 fights. I saw him complete 2 takedowns. One was in the Jesus Aguilar fight, which was a 25-minute fight. Just randomly throughout that fight, he got one. And then there was another fight where he got a takedown with like 30 seconds left in a second round and did nothing with it. When he's getting these submission wins, it's because guys are shooting in on him, and that's just not something that I think Joshua Van's going to do. So yeah, if Edgar Charz goes out there and strikes with Joshua Van for 15 minutes, Van's going to win the fight as long as Van's durability is not compromised coming back too early from a knockout loss. So yeah, I do like Van here. I hate the number. I think he's too big of a favorite. I don't trust him at the price tag, but in terms of picking a winner, I think Joshua Van might be a very competitive first round. Van might even lose the first round because he's lost pretty much every first round in the UFC. But as the fight goes on, I think Van's going to do the better work. But I would like to see Charz wrestle here, but it's just not his game. And even if he does, maybe he's not going to have success doing so. So I like Van here. I like Van by decision. Moving on, we got Yasmin Jauregui going against Ketlin Souza. We got Heri, 25 years old, 5'3" with a 64-inch reach, 11-1 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Ketlen Souza, 29 years old, 5'3" with a 63-inch reach, 14-4 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Heri minus 425, Souza plus 355. I think it could even be like wider than that, believe it or not. I just think Heregi's the much better fighter here. I think she's better wherever the fight goes. Ketlen Souza, she's been finished in all 4 of her losses, 2 by submission, 2 by knockout. Heregi's a good grappler, brown belt in BJJ. We haven't really seen her grappling tested inside the UFC, but maybe it does get tested here. Maybe she shows it off here. But I primarily think this fight is going to take place on the feet, and when it does, Heregi's just going to be the better striker. I think she's powerful, and I think she can kind of break Souza here as the fight goes on. So yeah, this should be Heri, and I think Heri eventually gets Souza out of there in the second round. I'll say second round knockout for Yasmin Heri. Next fight, we have an absolute banger. We got Manuel Torres going against Ignacio Bahamondes. We got Torres, 29 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach, 15-2, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Bahamondes, 27 years old, 6'3" with a 75.5-inch reach, 15-5 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Torres minus 120, Bahamondes plus 100. This line is actually flipped. It was Bahamondes as the favorite, but he's now the slight dog. And I've kind of flipped as well in terms of a pick. Initially I was leaning Manuel Torres to go out there and maybe starch Bahamondes, but I think I'm going to go with Bahamondes here as a dog. And the reason being is, if this fight reaches the second round, it heavily favors Ignacio Bahamondes. Bahamondes has been hurt a couple times in the first round. We saw Klein drop him. We saw McDessie, of all people, hurt him on a couple occasions in the first round, and that is very concerning, considering Manuel Torres is an absolute beast in the first 5 minutes, but it's kind of in the first 5 minutes. Manuel Torres has 15 wins, 14 of those come in the very first round. He's been over 1.5 rounds only once in his entire career. He's been to the second round only once in his entire career, whereas Ignacio Bahamondes, he's shown the ability to go into the second round, the third round to decision. So I'm kind of thinking Ignacio might weather a little bit of a storm here, maybe get hurt early, maybe get dropped early, but survive, extend the fight, get it to the second, and that's where I think he's going to kind of break Torres as the fight goes on. Phenomenal fight, my favorite fight on the card. I think somebody's getting served, but I think it's going to be Ignacio Bahamondes getting the second round knockout here. Next, we got Irene Aldana going against Norma Dumont. Aldana, 36 years old, 5'9" with a 68.5-inch reach, 15-7 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Norma Dumont, 33 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach, 11-2 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Yeah, straight pick him here, minus 110, and I think that's accurate because, I don't know who the heck's going to win this fight, but I'm going to pick Aldana here, and here's why. Dumont, I think she's going to go for takedowns. I think she's going to need to get takedowns, and Aldana has been taken down here or there, but I was going back and watching some of these Aldana fights, and, yes, she can be taken down a little bit. Her takedown defense is 76%, which isn't bad, but she's been taken down, but by fighters like Macy Chiasson, Amanda Nunes, etc., but she's not really that easy to hold down at all. Like, when she's getting taken down, she's popping back up a lot of the times, and if Aldana is able to keep this at range for a good portion of this fight, I think she's clearly the better striker, but this fight's going to be close. It's going to be greasy. Dumont might get a takedown or two. Aldana's probably going to, do the better work on the feet. So give me the fighter that I think is going to do the better work on the feet, and that is Irene Aldana. But I think it's going to be a close decision nonetheless. Give me Aldana by decision. Moving on, we got Ronaldo Rodriguez going against Ode Osborne. Another fight I've been kind of flipping back and forth on. Another tough fight to call. But yeah, we got Ronaldo Rodriguez, 25 years old, 5'6" with a 65-inch reach, 16-2 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Ode Osborne, 32 years old, 5'7" with a 73-inch reach, 12-7 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So I was all over Ronaldo Rodriguez against Denise Bondar, who I just don't think belonged in the UFC. This is a little bit of a tougher matchup, I'd say, I guess. I don't know, though. Ode Osborne, this guy has 7 losses, 6 of them come inside the distance. I really question the heart, the durability of Ode Osborne, where you don't question that at all with Rodriguez. The thing I don't like about Rodriguez, though, and especially in that Bondar fight, was in that Bondar fight, in the first round, he was eating some clean shots. He looked not that great at all. Like, I had a bet on Rodriguez, and I'm like, this bet's, terrible. It's a terrible bet, but Bondar kind of gassed out, and I can see something like that happening here. I think early on, Ode might be able to land some big shots here, might be able to get some takedowns here, might be able to win this first round, but as the fight goes on, like, Rodriguez has that dog in him, he doesn't have quit in him, he has heart, he has durability, and those are all things that Ode Osborne just seems to lack. So I'm going to go with Rodriguez here. I'll say he loses the first round and then kind of breaks Ode in the second. So give me Rodriguez to win this fight by second round submission. Next, we have Daniel Zellhuber going against Esteban Rivix. We got Zellhuber, 25 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach, 15-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Rivix, 28 years old, 5'10" with a 69-inch reach, 13-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Zellhuber minus 220, Rivix plus 185. And yeah, I like Zellhuber here, but I think this could be a very competitive fight at times. One thing you've got to mention is that this is going to be an 8-inch reach advantage for Daniel Zellhuber, and I think that's very important considering I expect this fight to take place standing pretty much the entire time, unless Zellhuber wants takedowns, which if he wants takedowns, he will be able to get them because Esteban Rivix has just no takedown defense whatsoever. So just another kind of reason I edge to the Zellhuber side there. So Zellhuber, 8-inch reach advantage. I like the striking. I think he's going to be the more technical fighter as well. Can mix in takedowns here or there. Rivix, no takedown defense. Very wild guy. He's aggressive, but I think Zellhuber probably gets the better of these exchanges over 15 minutes. But yeah, I think it's going to be a war. I think it's going to be fun. I think it goes to decision. Give me Zellhuber to get the decision win. Next, we have Diego Lopez going against Brian Ortega. We got Diego Lopez, 29 years old, 5'11" with a 72.5-inch reach, 25-6 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Brian Ortega, 33 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach, 16-3 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Hopefully, we get to see this fight happen this time around. But yeah, I got to go Lopez here. I was going Lopez in the first fight. I'm going, that didn't happen. I'm going Lopez in this fight as well. I'm hoping Brian Ortega shows up and makes weight and this fight goes on because, yeah, I think it's a good spot for Lopez here. Lopez is going to have a lot of opportunities to win this fight, whether it's by decision, whether it's an early finish. Ortega's next level tough and next level durable, but the way Lopez is going out there and starching fools, like, it wouldn't shock me if Lopez went out there and got Ortega out of there early, but Lopez has also shown the ability to go out there and win the first couple rounds and maybe cruise the third, and that's also definitely a scenario here. I just think Lopez is the younger fighter. I think he's the much more hungrier fighter. I think he's the fighter that's making just rapid improvements. Like this guy Lopez, you go back and watch some of his fights outside the UFC before he came into the UFC, made his debut against Evloev. There were, he can be taken down. He can be a little bit low volume on the feet. He can lose minutes on the feet, moments on the feet. But I just think we're seeing just a massive improved version of Lopez really every time he steps in the cage. Only 29 years old. And I think we're going to even see a better version this time around. The version that fought Dan Ige, he looked good in those first 2 rounds, but he had to cut weight like 50 different times. So, I don't want to hold that Ige win against him. And it wasn't even a bad win. I think it was a good win. I think it was a very impressive win, to me at least. So I think Lopez this time around, full camp, with hopefully no weigh-in shenanigans. I think Lopez goes out there, has a good performance. I'll officially say Lopez by decision. I think Ortega's tough enough to survive these first 2 rounds. Maybe Ortega can kind of rally a comeback in the third, maybe win the third round, but I think Lopez wins it 29-28 by decision there. Next, we have the trilogy. Alexa Grasso going against Valentina Shevchenko. We got Alexa Grasso, 31 years old, 5'5" with a 66-inch reach, 16-3 and 1 and 4-0 and 1 in her last 5 fights. Valentina Shevchenko, 36 years old, 5'5" with a 65.5-inch reach, 23-4 and 1 and 3-1 and 1 in her last 5 fights. So there's not really much analysis here to be had. I mean, we've saw these fighters go 40 some minutes at this point. We've seen 2 fights already, and what I've gathered throughout these 2 fights is, Valentina is having a ton of success. In the first fight, I thought she was on her way to winning that fight. She gives up her back and gets choked out shortly after. The second fight, she was looking good in a lot of these rounds, but she got dropped in one of the rounds, and then in the 5th round, she gave up her back and got 10-8'd. By the way, the worst 10-8 scorecard in UFC history. I'm not sure what that judge was smoking, but he was smoking something. So Valentina arguably should have won that fight. Like if that 5th round wasn't scored 10-8, Valentina would be champion right now. But the fact of the matter is, the crooked, corrupt judge, I forget whoever it was, maybe it was Mike Bell, maybe it wasn't, but I think it might have been Mike Bell. That guy's terrible. But it could have been any of them. It could have been Sal D'Amato. It could have been Derek Clearly. It could have been any of all these. They're horrible in there. They're crooked and they're corrupt. But yeah, that 10-8 scorecard was terrible. So something we got to mention is Valentina is now 36 and a half years old. It's been about a year since they fought, and one fighter is regressing at a rapid rate. That's Valentina. We know that. And then one fighter is making improvements at a rapid rate. That's Alexa Grasso. So a year later, I got to go with Grasso. And here's the thing. If Valentina wins this fight, if she wins this fight, the judges probably still give it to Alexa Grasso. It's UFC Noche. The crowd is going to be behind Alexa Grasso. I can guarantee you that. Even if Valentina does win the fight, the judges probably aren't going to give it to her. And Valentina's not finishing Grasso. I think the finishing upside's on the Grasso side, actually. So, yeah, I like Grasso here. I just hate the line. I hate that she's a minus 140 favorite. I hate that Valentina's a plus 120 underdog because you're watching these fights and it's like Valentina looks like the favorite most of the time. It's just these tiny mistakes, these tiny slip-ups are kind of what's costing her. And then on top of that, like I said, the clear regression of Shevchenko. I think we've seen her regress for the last couple of years now. And Grasso's getting better and better. We can't deny that. So, yeah, give me Grasso here. But, yeah, Grasso's like plus 500 in the first fight, something crazy. In the second fight, she was like plus 150 or something, and that fight looked like a pick'em, and now she's the favorite here. So, it's probably going to be a close fight. It's going to go to decision. But I think at the end of the day, Alexa Grasso gets her hand raised. I'll give me Grasso to win this fight and Grasso to win this fight by decision. All right, moving on. By the way, guys, kind of flying through these. We have 10 fights, and so a little bit quicker of a video than usual, but it's okay. We got Sean O'Malley going against Merab Dvalishvili, and by the way, be sure to comment down the significant strikes between these two as well. I almost did comment down how much takedown attempts Merab is going to land, but we'll stick with significant strikes. So yeah, Sean O'Malley, 29 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, 18-1 and 4-0 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Merab Dvalishvili, 33 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach, 17-4 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. I've had this fight circled before it was even announced. I'm like, I want to see Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili go after it. And it came a lot quicker than I expected. I kind of thought that the UFC would maybe keep Merab away from Sean O'Malley, but no, they're going after it here. So it's a very tough fight to call. It's a very tough fight to call because you can make a case for both guys. With Merab, you have a guy that is capable of going out there and literally attempting 50 takedowns. He attempted 49 takedowns against Petr Yan, and that's kind of what he's going to have to do here. But with Sean O'Malley, you're just going to have the much, much, much better striker. He has a ton of power, and anytime this fight's at range, he's going to have opportunities to hurt and finish Merab, who Merab's been hurt multiple times, and Merab's been finished a couple times as well. So, this is a fight where I do like the O'Malley side, and this line actually flipped. O'Malley was an underdog for the longest time, which is annoying, and since the Merab staph rumors, which I don't even know if it's a rumor. He posted a picture where he had staph, and then he has a cut under his eye a couple weeks ago. I think all that is kind of factoring into this line and why O'Malley's now the favorite. But yeah, I got to go O'Malley here. I think, damage over control. One guy is going to be doing damage, and that's Sean O'Malley. One guy is going to be doing control and no damage, and that's Merab. Merab's game is shooting a million takedowns and really not doing a ton with them. His offense is literally a takedown attempt, which is crazy, right? So I could see a scenario where Sean O'Malley lands a big shot, draws a big reaction out of Merab, maybe drops Merab, and then Merab humps his leg for 4 minutes, and that round should be scored for O'Malley because a knockdown should be scored rather than getting your leg humped for 4 minutes, right? So, and then on top of that, I think Sean O'Malley has all the finish upside as well. So yeah, I'm taking O'Malley. I think he probably, I'll say knockout for O'Malley here, but a damage-based decision, like a very greasy split damage-based decision, would not shock me whatsoever because I think Sean O'Malley is going to be doing the only one doing damage in this fight. So I like Sean here. I'll say Sean eventually does knock out Merab Dvalishvili. I'll say in the second round here. And still, there you guys have it. Flew through this one. 10 fights. Not a ton to talk about. I think a lot of these are pretty straightforward. But yeah, fun card. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing what is in store for UFC Noche, UFC 306 in the Sphere. a card that I wanted to go to, but the ticket prices were kind of ridiculous. But yeah, it should be fun just watching at home, watching these fights. Before we get out of here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down those significant strikes. If you guys do want to support me more, check out dfsbythenumbers.com. That's where you'll find all my betting content, DFS content, got, you know, DraftKings article, betting articles, best bet article, and just a ton of content on dfsbythenumbers.com. Gonna throw a couple bets up as well very shortly. There are some spots sticking out for this card. 10 fights, we don't have a ton to work with, but yeah, I am liking some spots for this card for sure. All right, yeah, guys, best of luck for UFC 306, and enjoy the card. See you later.